Chuck Todd at the White House this morning. As always, Chuck, thank you very much. Frank Luntz is a Republican pollster and the author of the new book, Win. Frank, good to have you back. Good morning.
It's a pleasure.
You're an expert on message, so let's talk about this health care issue that Chuck just talked about. The president extending an olive branch of sort to governors in states saying that they can actually opt out of certain requirements of the health care law under certain conditions. If you're a fan of the president, you say he's being presidential, he's unifying people. If you're not a fan, you say he's retreating out of weakness. How are they controlling the message?
Well, there's a phrase, let's get to work. It's one of the most powerful phrases. It's one of the reasons why the president said that to the governors. The governors are appreciated because every day they're held accountable. Every day they're held responsible. And I choose these terms specifically. When you look at Congress and the presidency, their approval ratings are still way down even after the 2010 election. If you're using language that says, I'm going to get the job done, I get it. Those three words, I get it, incredibly powerful because it says, I understand how you feel.
Let's stick on this subject, though, and your use of language and how important it is. The president also waded a little bit further into the situation out in Wisconsin and told governors not to vilify public workers. A New York Times CBS News poll shows that 60% of Americans oppose states' efforts to weaken the collective bargaining rights for union workers. I know you were in Madison, Wisconsin last week. What words are key to the message being received out there?
And by the way, I have the scars from
prove
Madison.
it, yeah.
You use the phrase public workers. If you call them public workers, a majority of Americans respect them. If you call them government workers, a majority of Americans don't.
How about the phrase collective bargaining rights?
Is that you saw 61%, but if it is instead called the right of people to join or not to join a union, then the whole side flips. The whole reason why I wrote Win is to focus on those words that cause people to change their minds, change their behavior, even change their attitudes.
We are less than a year away from the Iowa caucuses, and in an unusual turn of events, not one member of the GOP has actually come out at this stage and said, I am running for president in 2012, different from 3.5, 4 years ago. Why?
Based on the mood, based on how the public feels towards politicians, would you want to enter that fray? You want to push it off as far as you can. The American people are paying much closer attention to what people say and how they say it. And so any word and any slip-up can cause irreparable damage. They want to push this as far into the future. You can do 95% of what you'd want to by not being a candidate. Once you're a candidate, you're held to a much higher standard.
In that spotlight. You held a focus group recently. You surveyed possible GOP contenders, Newt Gingrich, Mitt Romney, Mike Huckabee, Sarah Palin. Newt came out on top. Why did people like him? What were the things they were hearing from him that resonated with them?
And he didn't walk in there on top. He walked in there in fourth, but he came out in first for one reason. They can already imagine what it would look like to see Gingrich and Obama face-to-face in a debate a year from now. That's what they're looking for among Republicans. Who's the best debater?
And in the book, you talk about 11 words and phrases that political leaders should use in 2011 to make their messages more effective, including imagine, no excuses, uncompromising integrity, and the simple truth. Why'd you settle on those words?
Because they're the words that the American people respond best to, whether you're in a day-to-day situation. I'll give you one. Matt, if you remember only one thing, when you go up for your next contract negotiation and you're giving them all the ratings and how well this show does, you need to end that negotiation with, if you remember only one thing, and whatever you say next, the people you're negotiating with, they won't forget it. You set the right context, the right communication, you can get a raise, you can get the job, you can get elected, you can create amazing things. That's what Win is about.
So those words more effective than Tiger Blood and Adonis DNA?
I could not elect Charlie Sheen. Not that I would want to elect Charlie Sheen.
All right, Frank Luntz. Frank, good to have you here.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Just ahead, our